Have you ever made a painful mistake or shared a moment of vulnerability and caught a fleeting, imperceptible smirk on the other person's face? That flash of amusement is a biological reflex hardwired into a specific type of brain architecture. Deep inside the human brain sits the nucleus accumbens. This is our core reward center. When we eat good food or accomplish a complex goal, this cluster of neurons floods our system with dopamine, creating a powerful sensation of pleasure. Look at how a typical brain processes someone else's pain. The empathy center lights up, mirroring that distress. In a sadistic brain, the empathy center remains entirely dark. Witnessing suffering triggers the nucleus accumbens, flooding the brain with a massive dopamine hit. For this personality, your suffering is a literal neurological high. They actively crave the experience of witnessing your pain to trigger that internal reward. We often picture sadists as cinematic villains or violent criminals. But psychological researchers have identified a far more common variant: everyday sadism. These are highly functioning individuals operating in our offices, our relationships, and our comment sections. To measure how this drive operates in ordinary people, psychologist Aaron Buckles designed a behavioral study centering on a bizarre task: grinding up live bugs. High-scoring sadists gravitated toward the bug-killing station, expending extra physical effort for the specific opportunity to use the grinder, rather than taking easier, non-violent tasks. That willingness to work harder just to inflict harm reveals an intrinsic appetitive motivation. They seek out the act of causing distress because the cruelty itself provides the reward. The everyday sadist is exceptionally dangerous because they blend into polite society, quietly hunting for microdoses of cruelty to feed their internal reward loop. To spot these individuals, we have to look at how psychologists classify toxic personalities as a whole. This academic paper shows a structural shift in personality psychology. For years, researchers relied on the dark triad to map malevolent traits. Recent data forced an expansion into the dark tetrad, establishing everyday sadism as its own distinct category. First is narcissism, driven by an intense need for grandiosity and admiration. Machiavellianism views human beings as chess pieces to acquire power. Psychopathy uses harm as a tool to reach a goal. Finally, everyday sadism, where the pain itself is the reward. Look at this research abstract exploring dark personality traits. It highlights a critical distinction. While psychopathy involves a cold-hearted indifference to suffering, sadism involves the active pursuit of gratuitous enjoyment from inflicting that pain. A narcissist hurts you to protect their ego. A Machiavellian hurts you to take your money. A psychopath hurts you because you are in their way. An everyday sadist hurts you because your pain is the ultimate prize. Because sadistic pleasure is a neurological reflex, it is almost impossible for these individuals to hide it completely in the moment. Watch for what researchers call duping delight. At the apex of your vulnerability, or the moment they deliver a cutting remark, their facial muscles betray them, twitching into a micro-smirk of amusement. Everyday sadists employ tactics like gaslighting to harvest and prolong your emotional distress, extracting the fuel needed to sustain their dopamine loop. I want you to think back. Have you ever caught this inappropriate, sudden joy on someone's face while you were in pain? Tell us about that moment in the comments below. Recognizing this trait leads to a necessary reality. You cannot fix this person. It is impossible to reason with a biological reward circuit that gets high on your tears. The ultimate defensive strategy is absolute indifference. You have to go completely neutral. When you remove your visible distress, when you stop arguing, stop crying, and stop reacting, you starve their nucleus accumbens of its trigger. Without your pain to process, the behavior no longer provides a dopamine hit. Your lack of reaction is your greatest armor. Type neutral in the comments to reclaim your control, and subscribe to recognize the dark so you can